All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into muscle.
That feels.
We use them every single day, obviously. But how much do we actually know about them?
Yeah.
I mean, beyond doing a bicep curl.
Right.
And thankfully, we've got this physiology handout by Dr. Rasha Eldeeb.
Oh, cool.
And it is fascinating, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So get ready to go a little deeper than just the gym,
Deeper than the gym. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about all sorts of things like, how do we even decipher the electrical signals that our muscles are sending?
Ooh.
Then there's, rigor mortis.
Yeah.
Always a fun topic.
Right.
And, of course, we're going to cover how our muscles actually get bigger
Okay.
when we work out.
So, like, what's happening at the gym?
Exactly.
Cool.
But first, let's talk about electromyography.
Electromyo.
It's a mouthful, I know.
Yeah, that's a big word.
But it's pretty interesting stuff. So
Okay,
what is it exactly?
So, electromyography, or we like to call it EMG for short because it's easier.
Yeah.
It's basically like listening to your muscles have a conversation. Electrically.
They're talking to us.
They are, in their own way. We use electrodes, so little discs we put on the skin, or sometimes even tiny needles to get a closer listen.
Oh, wow. Needles, huh?
Yeah, sometimes. It just depends how deep we want to go.
To eavesdrop.
Exactly. To eavesdrop on those muscle chats.
I like that. Okay, so we're listening. What are we actually hearing?
So even when you think a muscle's just chilling, it's giving off these electrical signals, like a little hum.
Really?
Yeah. And these patterns, that like fingerprints, totally unique.
Huh.
And they tell us how healthy the muscle is and if its connection to the nervous system is good.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. So like if we hear these weird blips, things called, now get ready for this, fibrillation potentials.
Oh.
Or positive sharp waves.
Okay.
It's a sign something might be off.
Off?
Like maybe the nerve that's supposed to be talking to that muscle got injured, or there's, something going on with the nerves or the muscles.
Interesting. So it's not always just like a pulled muscle.
Not always.
Just-
Sometimes it can be deeper than that.
I've definitely had those muscle twitches
Oh, yeah.
just out of nowhere.
Totally normal. Happens to all of us.
But is that connected to all this electrical stuff?
It is. Those twitches, those are called fasciculations. And it's
Yeah.
basically just a burst of electricity
Right.
in a motor unit. That's like a little neighborhood of muscle fibers all controlled by one nerve.
Interesting.
Now, the occasional twitch, no big deal.
Right.
But if they're happening all the time, could be a sign of some nerve damage or something else going on.
Okay, so even when a muscle's just relaxing, we can learn a lot just from these electrical signals. But what happens when we, actually flex?
Oh,
When we use those muscles?
Things get way more interesting. Way more interesting. So when a muscle contracts, right, all that electrical activity, it amps up big time.
Okay.
And we can see that in the signals themselves. These are called action potential.
Action potential.
Yeah, like pulses of electricity that run along the muscle fiber
Wow.
tell it, hey, time to contract.
Gotcha.
And these action potentials, they come in different flavors. Some are simple, just a single wave. We call those monophasic.
Monophasic.
Then you got your diphasic, 2 waves. And then triphasic, 3 waves.
So they get more complex.
Big deal.
Is that based on how hard the muscle's working?
Exactly.
Oh.
So picture this. Imagine listening to a single instrument, right?
Yeah, I'm picturing it.
Then boom, a whole orchestra kicks in. That's what it's like when more and more muscle fibers join the party.
It gets louder, I bet.
It gets louder, it gets more jumbled. It's a whole, it's what we call an interference pattern.
An interference pattern.
Yeah.
So we can actually see how hard a muscle is working based on this pattern.
We can, and not just that, it helps us diagnose nerve problems too.
Really?
Yeah. Like something called peripheral neuritis. That's when the nerves, outside the brain and spinal cord, they're damaged.
Wow.
And that messes with the muscle signals.
Fascinating. I got to ask about something that we see all the time in movies.
What's that?
Rigor mortis.
Ah, yes.
Is it really as dramatic as they make it seem?
Well, it's real. Definitely real.
Okay.
But maybe not as instant as Hollywood likes to show.
Okay.
So rigor mortis, it's the stiffening of muscles after death.
Right.
And the culprit, a little molecule called ATP.
ATP?
Yeah. The energy currency of our cells.
I vaguely remember that from biology class.
Yep, that's it.
So how does that play into, muscles going stiff?
So ATP, it's basically the key to muscle relaxation.
Okay.
No ATP, no relaxation. When we die, Well, no more ATP production.
Right.
So muscles get lock in that contracted state.
Hence the stiffening.
Exactly.
Oh.
And the cool thing is, it follows a timeline.
A timeline.
Yeah, starts about 2 hours after death, peaks at around 18 hours,
Okay.
and then slowly fades over the next day or so.
So that's how they use it to figure out, time of death.
Yep, that's one of the ways they use it in forensics.
Wow, that's amazing.
Pretty neat.
It is. Okay, last question. How do muscles actually grow when we work out?
All right, so a lot of people think exercise makes more muscle fibers, but that's not quite right.
So what happens?
The fibers you got, they get bigger.
Okay, how does that work?
So think of your muscle fiber as a bundle of these tiny protein threads called myofibrils.
Myofibrils?
And inside those, you got actin and myosin, the dynamic duo of muscle contraction.
Okay.
Now, when you lift weights or do like resistance training,
Yeah.
you're actually causing tiny tears in those myofibrils.
What?
Yeah, it's like micro damage.
Huh.
But it's a good thing. Your body's like, okay, time to repair and rebuild.
Ah, so that's why we get sore.
Exactly. That soreness, that's a sign your muscles are saying, hey, we're getting bigger and stronger over here.
Makes sense. So it's kind of like breaking down the muscle a little bit to build it back up.
Pretty much. It's amazing how adaptable our bodies are.
It really is. Well, that was quite a journey from tiny electrical signals to rigor mortis to how our muscles grow.
Yeah, our muscles are pretty cool.
They are.
Yeah.
But here's a thought before we go. What else might affect muscle growth aside from exercise? I mean, could we one day manipulate those electrical signals to make our muscles even stronger?
Now that's something to think about.
It is. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.